Hello guys, we are live, I think. Yes, we are. Well, welcome to another live Q&A. It is going to be a fun-packed one tonight. Firstly, let's talk about what we are drinking. Okay, so there's a few people with whiskies and wines and everything. We've got people from the US, from Scotland, from England, from Spain. There was someone from Spain, so tell us where you're from to put it in the comments there. I am on the Thirsty Ferret. This is lovely. This is a Dorset beer, and I'm not sponsored by them, but please, if you do want to sponsor me, send some to me. And don't forget the albums, featured album there. Can you guess which one it is? Across the top, it's actually quite easy, but you've got to guess the number, right? If you can, of them ones there. Right. So who we got? We've got Richard from Essex here. Oh, we've got someone from Nigeria, from Belgium. Mamie from Belgium here. Klaus from Hanover there. Malaga, 30 degrees in Malaga. Mate, it is 30 degrees in here in my office. It's absolutely boiling in the UK. Look what I've got here. Look, this is what I bought this so I could do this all night. Otherwise I'll be sweating. That's how hot it is in here, mate. I reckon it's got to be that in this office. Right, this is what's happening. Right, let's get straight to it. Firstly, don't forget to do me a favor, and that is press that like button, and subscribe, follow. If you're on Facebook, so this is going to YouTube and Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can click share, and all of your friends will know what's going on. All right. So if you're on Facebook, click the share button, but please like it wherever you are, because it really does us a favor. This is what is happening tonight. Okay, we've got a guest coming up in a minute. His name is Brian Nicholson. He is Scottish, but don't hold that against him, because he's one of the good ones. All right, it's only Sturgeon that we don't like. The rest of them are really good. All right, so he's going to join us. He has been photographing for about a year, and he's taken some fantastic landscape pictures. He's going to share his story and some of his tips on his learning journey and things like that. And then we're going to look at some of his pictures as well, and then we're going to answer questions. So you can ask questions live in the comments there. And I've also got some questions from our members who can't join us tonight as well, and I'm going to answer some of them as well. So we're going to try and get through as much as possible. All right. First thing, let's introduce Brian, shall we? I'm going to bring him in right now. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Good evening. I'm very well, thank you.
That's all right. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for sharing your story. So I briefly told people a little bit about you there, Brian. Mm-hmm. Fill us in a bit more, and as you're filling us in, I'm going to get up your Instagram feed so that we can look at some of your work. So the floor is yours, Brian.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Well, good evening, everyone, and it's my pleasure to be here, and thanks to Mark for inviting me here on the School of Photography. It's, as Mark said, I've just been in DSR photography for about a year, and I'm currently in full-time employment, and I'm a buyer for Consberg Maritime, which is a marine company that I lead the supply chain, and we buy steering gear and stabilizers for various vessels across the world, and mainly source equipment from the UK, Europe, and the Far East, and China, which I would tend to visit normally, but not in lockdown. No. As Mark said, I'm a keen amateur, I have to say the word amateur, landscape photographer.
Yeah, and they're fantastic. I can see. So I've got up Brian's Instagram here, and just while we're on the subject, there it is. All right. So if you want to go and follow Brian, go and follow him. It's some really fantastic stuff for someone that has just started a year ago. You know, there's a real talent starting to build here, and if you want to follow him, please do. Okay. Let's bring Brian back in. Yeah, go on, carry on, Brian. My headphones are running out of battery, so I'm going to actually turn them off before it goes a bit weird. You carry on, Brian.
That's fine. Okay, well, basically, I just love the outdoors. You know, I've been an outdoors person all my life, and used to come and do a lot of sports, and that's taking me around Scotland to different areas and doing competitions and keeping my keen eye open in all these years in the past. And now I'm bringing photography into my journey because, you know, I've been and seen a lot of good places, and basically I go hiking, walking, wild camping, cycling, and it's just the perfect match. You know, you see all these places, but now I do it at a slower pace, and I can actually get out and get up the Munros or the hills and just take my time and get some good shots.
Yeah, you're an active person, Brian, and I'll just, because we had a chat obviously a little while back, and Brian is a bit of an athlete. He's a triathlete, and well, he does loads of active stuff that I could never do. So landscape photography and hiking up mountains and taking this all kind of matches in, isn't it, Brian? I think you're made for the job. Shall we get straight into looking at some of your pictures? So for people that are watching and are new to this, we get guests in. Sometimes that they are fully fledged professionals that are earning money, and then sometimes they are members from School of Photography, and just like Brian was just saying there. So I asked them to pick 3 pictures to talk about. So let's go over and have a look at these pictures that Brian has chosen. All right, here we go, Brian.
Okay. Well, it was the usual. When Mark asked me to pick 3 pictures. I currently have from memory about 5,000, so it wasn't an easy task.
No.
So what I'm trying to do, so this one here is a lighthouse called Fendra Lighthouse, and it's down by Yellow Craig Beach in the east of Scotland. So I was there for about 2 hours with my neighbour, who's a keen photographer as well, and you know, I was desperate to catch the lighthouse, which like cascading the light over the water towards us, and I must have taken about, I don't know, Mark, probably 20 shots to try and to get this. But as the tide was going out, then all this in the foreground was seaweed, and I was trying to time it to catch the lighthouse on my timer. So basically, just for the benefit, this was in the blue hour, and I shot it, and the settings I had was ISO 400, and I used my it was my Sigma lens, 18mm lens on f11, and it was a 6-second exposure. So I was, you know, that was the story there. But I was just waiting for the right moment, as we all have to do as photographers, and just being patient. And I was glad when I finally nailed it, and I got that perfect light just shining, and I was jumping about, you know, going, yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, good. I'm sorry, Brian. So this is a technicality. And, if you watch my live Q&As, you know that it's never slick. I've got my headphones here that are wireless. They've run out of battery. People are saying that I've got echo from the speakers, so now I'm going to have to plug in my other ones. So I will do that while you're carrying on talking, right? And so I do apologise for everyone watching.
No, that's okay.
This is live TV, mate. Live TV. This is what happens. Things go wrong. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put on the next picture, and you can start talking about that one then. Yeah.
Okay, this is a photograph that I took at Long Nidri. Again, it's just further up the coast again on the east coast. And on this evening, you know, it was myself and there was a few other photographers. But earlier on in the evening, I got an idea in my head that it might be quite good to photograph this walkway, which is over to a nature reserve towards some golf courses. And I just got in my head thinking, that would make a nice composition. And earlier on, because in front of that, there's a lot of nice little foreground interest with small like ponds, but with nice grass roots and things, and that's looking east, you know, and west. Sorry. And most people were on the other side. And as the lights started to descend, I just kind of quietly went around the other side and got myself here. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic, you know. And even my own self, I thought, this is a great shot. And you know, it was just again for that one. That was just as the sun, and I got some cracking photographs on the other side. But I just felt this was something that was a bit different, you know, with that leading line coming almost from the left out the way, right diagonally across the frame. And
looks lovely and calm, doesn't it?
Yeah. So again, that was on that one there. My settings on that one, it was ISO 100, and I used my Takina wide angle. It shot that 11mm focal length. It was on f11, and it was a 1/6 of a second.
Is it a full frame camera you're using, Brian?
No, just a crop sensor.
Crop sensor, at 11mm. So it's like ultra wide. It's lovely. Very, very good. Let's go on to the next one, which is this one here, which I think out of all 3 of them, I like this one the best, actually, Brian. Just on that one. I mean, this was taken at Gladhouse Reservoir, which is a local reservoir to me. It's a beautiful reservoir, and this was one morning. It was, believe it or not, this was actually sunrise, but it was one of these mornings when it was a very, very thick, dense fog that was hanging over the reservoir. When I first got there in the morning, you literally couldn't see anything. But I was up early. I made the decision. I went there and I just sat tight. And then slowly the fog started to lift. I do have another image that I like as well, but it was trying to pick, when you've only got 3. But this one here, this is a little island, and in this whole area there are 2 types of geese that actually reside here during the winter months. And on the island, a lot of them, that's where they nest, etc. But with that particular one, the fog started lifting, and even just with I like it. It's got that mysterious feeling to it with the fog, and it's lovely.
And you can see when you zoom in, you can actually see a bit of the fog just along the horizon where you've got the reflection. And I just felt it was a nice muted. I've done some post processing with it, but that's the fog that you can just see there. So again, but that one again, that was shot with that was me zoomed in at 50mm with ISO 100, and again f11. That was a 4-second exposure as well, just to keep all the water nice and smooth. But that's one of my I've got one or two favourites, but I do really particularly like that one because it's got that just a nice calming mood about it, I think.
Yeah, I think I like this one the best for them exact reasons. It it's got a feeling to it. It's got a mysterious feeling to it, and it's funny really looking at the 3 pictures that you've chosen. They're all in like a blue hour or a softer light rather than the golden hour where the light could be giving you contrast. You've gone for these sort of softer looks, which is lovely, and also it's getting up in the morning, getting these sunrises. That makes a hell of a difference, doesn't it? The more effort. I mean, have you found that, Brian, over this year learning, that the more effort that you put in, the better the shots will be. Yeah.
Well, that's Mark. That's what it's all about. I mean, I'm an early riser. I always get up early, and I think it's like what's the old saying that used to say the first bird gets the worm.
That's right. Yeah.
And to be honest, it's in some ways I feel privileged because you're there, you made the effort, and some of the things that I've seen and heard, even just to actually sit back and just watch what's going on, it's actually quite enthralling, to see it. I believe that's. I get a buzz out of it. I have to say, I do get a buzz out of it.
Yeah.
And then to capture it in your camera, and the first thing I do, I have to admit, I like to get home and suddenly get it on my computer screen to see what I've done. That's my priority.
It's quicker these days. In the olden days, you had to go and give it to Boots and wait for it to come back again.
Oh yeah. I remember that the old Sony Cybershot I used to use.
That's it. Yeah. Oh my God, it's hot in here. Well, thank you for that. Now,
okay.
So we have got people watching us, as mainly our members, as you know.
Yeah.
And everyone is on a journey, and you're 1 year into this journey. Okay. So people watching, they've either been there or they're about to be there. So it's very valid, your experience, because I was there in probably 1997, which was too many years ago for me to try and figure it out, right? And the cameras were different and everything. So I want you to just tell us your journey into photography. I want you to try and tell us a little bit if you found any struggles, any barriers that you come across that you had to overcome, and in the process, give some tips to other people that are learning, and they might not make the same mistakes, or it might help them go forwards quicker. So just sort of share your story and your tips.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, Mark. Well, basically, I've always taken images, like most of us have done in the past, but I was one of these people that, done photography in early days, when you were younger, and but then suddenly smartphones came along, or before even smartphones, you were, and I just thought, this is great. I don't have to have a camera, I can just snap away my phone and all the rest of it. But I got to the point that I started to realise that I started to get a bit more a keener eye, and I really wanted to get into, the DSLR type photography. And with lockdown, it gave me an opportunity to think, well, we weren't able to do so much travel. You're kind of stuck within your area. I thought, what an ideal opportunity, basically. So I decided, it was June 2020, I got it, and I bought myself a Canon 800D and a couple of kit lenses. It came as a package, and I just started with that. And I started off with a kit 18-55 and a 50-250 lens. So that gave me a good range of what I was looking for. So then I continued just to do that. And then I started to find, well, how do I educate myself and find out about this thing? Because it's a lot confusing, all the settings, etc. So basically I enrolled on the EOS Academy. It was, I think they're based down south somewhere, but they were very good. There was a training academy with online videos that talked about, all the settings and everything to do similar to what you do yourself. But it was pretty, it gave me a lot of knowledge. But the one thing that came from it, they had a catalogue bookstore that I bought a 800D comprehensive manual, better than the one you get with the camera, which was actually put together by a photographer called Nina Bailey. So that kind of put me in good stead, you know.
Do you think that that learning the camera, because it looks like you've come across like I wanted to learn the camera, like as if it's a computer, you know, I want to learn the computer first rather than photography, because like as you probably know now, photography is when you learn the skill, it doesn't matter what camera it is, but it sounds like you've come in at a different angle, like that you come in, I want to learn this piece of machinery first.
Yes.
That's the way you came at it, was it?
That's the way I done it, just because I thought because when I first looked at it, Mark, it was like, oh, where do I start? And I just didn't want to jump in and start, so I wanted to educate myself first about it. So that was very useful. And then I started to try and because it was good in there, because they give you little sort of assignments to do yourself, as well. But so that was that. But then also I did find a couple of people on YouTube that were similar to me. They were outdoor people. They're out hiking up mountains and all the rest of it, and that was quite good. That was a couple of guys called Nigel Danson and Henry Turner. So they were, and they're the same. They're landscape photographers, that do the same type of stuff that I do, and more in the field type learning. Just not talking about the technicalities of it, but just some features about what to look for, and and that comes second nature, I think, to most photographers. But I think it's just good that a lot of tips, and this is where I started to hear things like focus stacking and exposure blending, and then it made me then sort of think, oh, what are these and how do I find out about them? This was the way that that kind of helped me all along. But then we'll talk about it later. But the whole YouTube thing's all a bit wacky. It's but then through time, not so much longer. This is when I then, again, YouTube it was, but then I thought, oh, who's this? The School of Photography. And I have to say, I've never looked back from that, Mark, because, just the way that you are and how you presented it, because I think photography can become very confusing to people when you're a new user, because there's a lot of stuff out there. And but your style was down to earth, it was easy, it was concise, it was well laid out, structured. And right away, I joined TSOP because I just thought, no, that's the best way. I could see the content of the courses. You could do it in your own time. And that's been invaluable. That has been absolutely invaluable. It's been But that's what we offer. We break all that confusing stuff down that you see on YouTube, because there's showing and teaching, isn't there? And YouTube has its place, obviously, but teaching has its place as well, doesn't it? So thanks for saying. The last person said that as well, actually. So it must be quite a common thing. But yeah. So what tips, if someone was starting right now, just tell them what to do. All right. So if someone has just joined TSOP, they're watching. This is their first live Q&A that they're watching, right? They've bought themselves the Canon 800D. Where's your tips? What are you going to say? First of all, what I would say, just get yourself. The first thing, do the complete photography guide one that's there, because that's a wealth of knowledge there. And I wish that I had seen and found that previously, because I made mistakes in file structure before I done this. It took me a long time to get all that sorted out. That was a big thing. But just the simple way the courses are laid out, following the Lightroom course, Mark, was, instead of hitting YouTube and trying to, get bits and pieces, it was a nice little package of stuff, and the way it was laid out, and it made me understand it a lot quicker and simpler. The one thing I would say, I struggle. I didn't believe I was struggling, but I was editing my photographs on a 19-inch laptop display. And I eventually went out and bought myself a BenQ monitor, 20-inch monitor. That's a game changer. Anyone in the game who's seriously wanting to do photographs and do post-processing editing, get yourself a monitor from day one. That's an absolute must, because it's an absolute game changer, and it was for me. I'm just gonna there's a question that's come through, and I'm going to put it on the screen. Brian, it's from another member, Eddie Burrows there. I've been a member of TSOP since January. I'm struggling to find the perfect shot, which I feel proud of,
to post on the assignments. He's got a Canon 2000 DSLR, and all the pictures I've seen are fantastic. Right, so let me just jump in here for you, Eddie. The camera is fine. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry about the camera. And don't worry about comparing yourself to all the other shots that are on TSOB, because that is what it is for. It's for people like you, and it's for people like Brian that's been photographing for a year. And there's people also that are members of TSOB that are working professional photographers, and that's their job. That's what they do. They earn money through photography. So there's a whole range of people, and it's such a nice group. I've never known a group like it. All the Facebook groups that I know, they're all right, but this one you have to pay to be in it. So that's why you get friendly people that are going to give you good advice. So firstly, do not worry about posting things, because you're always going to beat yourself up. I do it. Every picture that I take, I never go to myself, that's the best picture I've ever taken. I just think, oh, it could be this and it could be that and it could be, and I think everyone does that. So I wouldn't worry about that. So I want to see your work. And to be honest with you, you won't actually start improving until you start posting work on social media and on groups like what we've got. You know, you just won't. It's practice, and you will get there. You know, Henry Cartier-Bresson said famously, "The first 10,000 pictures are your worst." That's my take on it, Brian. What would you say to Eddie there?
No, Eddie, I mean, I would say for me, the best thing you can do is just get out there and take images. You know, it doesn't matter if it's on your camera you've got there, your 2000, or your smartphone, or whatever. It's about getting out there, getting images, looking at them. The thing is, if you're happy with them, you know, I mean, when I first started this, I can see the things how I've changed, but it's about getting out there, taking images, and that's starting the learning journey, and that's where you develop, and that's what I done. You know, it's
that's right. I mean, I still take pictures now that I've taken 6 months ago, and I look back now and I think, oh, I'd never take that now, and that's just now from 6 months. So you are constantly evolving and constantly learning.
I mean, so, and Mark, I would say as well to Eddie, because I mean, you know, it's taking me some time, because I just feel I'm just going out and taking photographs, and you know, it's what you do, and it's making the effort to get out there and do it, you know, and through time you'll start to get there, and it's just part of the learning curve. But you know, it's and a lot of good work in doing in the post processing as well. That's what helps. That's, you know, we take a lot from that. They're all these raw images, and that is a really good tip. I've just put this one up from Lorraine here. I'll put my first one on this week. Yes, I was a bit nervous, but I was glad I did it. There you go. Thanks, Lorraine. Good. Post processing. People underestimate the power of post processing, and there is this thing like, oh, it's fake. Well, it is fake if you make it fake, but it's not. Post processing is just really, sometimes it's just a bit of contrast, just bringing out the colors, putting the white balance correct, cropping, you know, silly things like that. Would you agree, Brian? Oh no, definitely. I mean, well, what I say to people, because quite often people say, "Oh, what have you edited that?" I say, "Well, look, the reason it's called Lightroom is because what did we do in the olden days when we took photographs? We put the negatives into a lab with chemicals, and we developed it in the darkroom. Lightroom's the same thing. We take the photographs, you import them as a DNG file, and then if you're taking, I mean, for example, some of these shots, you know, most of my shots, because I don't have the holder system. I'm bracket exposure in, so I've got maybe 3 images and I'm pulling them together. That's a massive file of content that you can work with. You can't, know. So, and Mark, I have to say, I'm not a believer in these people who edit and do replace the sky, or you work with what you see, what your eye sees, and you can use what you've captured within those 3 images, with the colours and the balance, or the highlights and the shadows and all these things. It's not dramatically changing it.
No, that's right. You don't have to go mad. And going back to Lightroom, I remember when I used to take photographs with 35mm SLR and go into a darkroom. Well, you would post-process. You could use different filters. They're contrast filters. I don't know if you ever went into it, but anyone who knows what I'm talking about, whack it in the comments there. But you used to put filters in from 1 to 5. Yeah, 1 would be less contrast, and 1 would be 5 would be high contrast. that is a curve, right? That's your curve in Lightroom, you know. So you really just did the same. I used to mask out areas of black and white prints and burn them in with a like, it was like a bit of wire, and you'd put a bit of card on the top, and you just burn areas in and dodge areas in. It was really good fun, actually. When I retired, I told you about this. When I retire, that is it. The digital stuff is going. I'm building a darkroom. I'm going back in time. That's what I'm doing. But yeah, but that was a great question to kick us off. And actually, that's what we're going to do now for the rest of the session. We are going to answer questions from you guys, from our members here. I've got some, while you're typing some in, I do know that some people have been typing them in, but they go up so quick. If you see any, Brian, let me know. If you see any there. But while we're waiting for a few questions to pop up there, let's take some questions from people who can't be with us this evening. Some of our members, we've got Crystal Craig here from the USA, from Port Townsend in the USA. She has got a really good question. What are your top 3 photographer influences? The 3 you wish to emulate, or whose work resonates with you, and why? Woo-hoo! I love these questions, because when you do like a degree in photography, because to learn photography, I reckon you could learn it in a year. You could learn the apertures, you could learn the shutter speeds, and you can't think you could learn that with a degree. You get 3 years, and a lot of it is actually studying photography as an art form. So I did a lot of that at uni, and here are mine 3 I had to choose for you, Crystal. Don Mccullen is one of them. Don Mccullen he's known as a war photographer. He actually photographs lots of different things, but it was that way of documenting war, especially the Vietnam War. It was unbelievable. She's here. Crystal Craig's in the house. Wait, she's lying to me, telling me she's not going to be here, filling out the form here. Anyway, Don Mccullen. Because his photographs would have changed the world, well, they did. But his photographs, if we go back to the Vietnam War, were part of the photographs. And Eddie Adams is another famous one, the execution. You've probably seen that, the execution in Saigon. These were the photographs that literally stopped the Vietnam War. All right. So they send out these war photographers to document how great, you know, the Americans are doing, and whatever they're doing, and this, that, and the other. But in fact, what they're actually photographing is death and destruction, and no one wants to see that. However good the intentions are, that's what was happening. And he put himself in positions that me and you and, I don't know, most people, 99% of the people in this world would not have put yourself into the position of. He tells stories where he's in the back of a van, someone gets shot next to him and killed, and he's sitting next to them. There's the exhibition, there was a camera on show, I think it was a Nikon camera, and there's a bullet hole in it, and the guy's got 9 lives. Do you know what I mean? Like, but he's one. Another one is Henry Cartier-Bresson. So that's one. Cartier-Bresson, you've probably heard of him. If you haven't, you've got to look him up. An absolute master of composition. The way he could arrange things in a frame was just absolutely beautiful, and it wasn't set up shots, it was shots just on the street, you know. And it's just fantastic to see work like that, because you can't, well, you just look at his photographs and you just think, oh, I wish I could do those like that. Every day, just go out and do them. He just had this natural eye for composing the world. And that sounds weird, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like, putting the world in a rectangle is very hard to do. He was a master at it. And the one person that I think is probably the most is a female photographer called Nan Goldin, American photographer, documentary photographer, and she created a book, and it was called "I'll Be Your Mirror," and it was a document. It was just her photographing her friends in the 80s, but her friends were a group of drag queens and gay people, and they basically throughout the 80s just all started to drop off dying of AIDS, and she happened to be there photographing it. And I just thought, and I bought that book. It cost me £50 when I was a student in the 90s, and £50 for a book is a lot of money anyway, but especially in the 1990s when you were a student. But I just thought that could be art. Just literally the person sitting next to you could be a piece of art, and it was for her, and it just blew me away. So there's the 3 that I chose. There's millions, but I've done it for you, Crystal. I'm not going to listen to you again. This is for people that won't be here. Anyway, there she is. Look. Right. Yeah, go ahead.
There's one question there from, is it Terry Olson?
Terry Olson. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, because I've had a bit of just recently. Well, Terry, what I would say, it's a difficult thing, and that was one thing I had in my struggles, Mark.
Yeah.
So good question, Terry. I like that. Yeah. Well, basically, for me initially coming into this, it was a bit of a difficult thing because there was so many, and I think actually one of your videos you reviewed a particular BenQ monitor. So on the basis of that, I wasn't entirely sure. I thought, well, BenQ was a well-known, but anyway, I went there, but Terry, I've got a BenQ 279p, I think's the number from memory. It's not. 20,
yeah, I've got one. I'm looking at it right now, and they are good monitors. We work with BenQ, so I'm just going to lay it on the line now. They give us stuff, so I'm not sort of. But I would recommend them. I would 100% recommend them. And on occasions, I'm not sure if we've got one at the minute, but if you're a member of TSOP, you get really big discounts off BenQ monitors. On occasions, every now and again they give it to us. All right, so keep your eye out in the members area. Sorry, Brian. Yeah, go on.
No, Terry, just to say, I mean the price and the complexity and one of the things I thought about, they're all talking about, I mean, to me as a newbie thinking I'm buying something from memory, I can't remember what I paid, but because I spoke with my printer, because I don't print anything, and that makes a difference about your printer management and stuff like that. So I just thought, I don't want to go high end because I'm not printing my own stuff. And she said, Brian, don't go spending £1,000 on a monitor, because it won't. That's good if you just look at it and print it yourself. So I think when I got the 279, it was about £400 or £500, I think, from memory. And it's a fantastic monitor. It's 29-inch. It's not very heavy, Terry. So if you're looking, I can only recommend what I've used and what I do use. It's. But I'm still the jury's out for me, Mark, about calibration, because I look at my monitor, my settings, I send my images off to a printer who's professional. They've got a better monitor. They've got the printer management files. So I've got a good relationship with my printer. Is it Pixel boosters, and whatever they do, they get my images and they then see them differently, because I thought, why I don't need £1,000 monitor, No,
and when you get into printing, it's a right headache. You have to just get it right for yourself. It is a right headache. But I have actually got it. So I calibrate the monitor, and if I want to print, I send it off to Loxley Colour, who I use in the UK, and they come back perfect. Actually, not perfect. See, I think you can be too perfect when it comes to prints, and that's what does your own head in. And I've been there before. And in the end, you've got to look and go, that is good. It has to be good. But I don't think it's ever going to be perfect. But once I get it calibrated and send it off to Loxley, seems to do a good job for me, to be honest.
What I found when I send an image off, the girl that I deal with there, she either sends me an image back or phones me and says, no, everything's fine. I might have to push the highlights up a bit, and sometimes she sends it back a preview, what she's done, to make sure I'm satisfied that she's not changed it too much. But I can live with that, because it's very minor adjustments, if anything, at all.
Yeah. Right. Let's go for this. This is the $1 million question, isn't it? Which is better for post-processing, PC or Mac? Right. Let's have a vote right now. If you're all watching this, put it in the comments. Come on, tell me what you use. The actual art. Go ahead, Brian. What are you going to say? What would you say?
I'm not an Apple fan at all, or any of these I'm just I'm a PC guy. I'm a PC and an Android user. That says it all.
Yeah. So I am as well. But the actual answer really is it doesn't matter, because once you open up Photoshop, once you open up Lightroom, they work exactly that. Well, there's one little difference, but they work near on exactly the same. So it really doesn't matter. Okay. Let's see what the folks are saying. It looks like PC's in the lead at the minute. Yeah, PC. Oh, oops, Mac. We've got Mac. PC. Here we go. Right. So we'll wait for. See, it goes up so fast. I can't take this off the screen now. There we go. Hide it. Right. We'll wait for a few more. If you did ask questions earlier on, it's probably a good idea to put the questions back in, because they've gone all the way up the top now. And actually, while you're there, please do that. All right. Click the like. If you're on YouTube, click the like button. If you're on Facebook, click the like button. Okay. Please, I can't tell you how much it helps us out, because, well, if you don't do that, if you don't engage, you're dealing with a computer. That's what we're dealing with, a computer. The computer only knows engagement. It's as simple as that. So please engage. There you go. I'm going to turn that off now. Let's go back to comments. Get some questions in there for us, for me and Brian. And while you're doing that, let's read out another question for someone who's supposedly not in the house. All right. So these people, I said, this is a member. Kevin O'Donoghue here from Wiltshire. Are you planning a course on street photography at all? Yes, we certainly are. At the moment, we have got on going right now a wildlife photography course, which is looking fantastic. I can't tell you how pleased I am with it. Landscape photography course, you've probably seen all the stuff going out there. Tomorrow, this is a true fact, tomorrow we are starting a macro photography course. These are all with professional photographers. Tom Archer's doing landscape. Andy Rouse, you might have heard of him. He's doing the wildlife. Oliver Wright is doing our macro. Of course, they're going to share their knowledge. It's going to be fantastic. The street photography, as you can see, Kevin, we're a bit busy at the minute, but street photography is 100% on the list, and it will be coming. Okay. Right. Have we got any questions come through there, Brian? Did you see it?
Most of the votes.
Oh, is this a typical? I'm going to put this one up. It is. I've been doing photography for almost 3 years. I use my phone. College finances, blah blah blah. I'm thinking of getting a camera soon. Any advice? Right, AD. I can't tell you how many times I get this question emailed to me and put on the group. In it, Brian, you see this question on the group all the time. Yeah. There really isn't an answer, because someone will say I use Nikon, they're the best. Someone will say I use Canon, they're the best. Someone will say I use Fuji, they're the best. And the fact of the matter is, all cameras these days, even the entry-level cameras, are really good and absolutely perfect to learn on. So it's just get a budget. We've actually got a blog post over on the School of Photography where we list out a load of budget cameras and that. So go over to our website and you go into tutorials, just scroll down, it'll say equipment 2021. You just think of what budget you've got. A good idea is if you photograph with someone and they use a Canon, for instance, a good idea is to get a Canon because you can work together. But apart from that, I think get whatever one is on sale. That's what I would say. I don't know about you, Brian. What would you say there?
Well, what I would say, I mean, it's like Mark, just to refocus what Mark says, you don't have to go and spend a whole lot of money to get a decent camera to take. It's all about what you do with it is the important thing. And that's what I was just saying earlier, whether it's a cheap camera or a phone or whatever. But I mean, mainly because my background in procurement, I sourced and I ended up buying my camera from Infinity in Japan. And they're made in Japan. So I bought my camera. I got my 800D, the kit lens and the zoom lens for £600. Which wasn't bad considering, the whole package, including the body. And I think sourcing the same stuff in the UK would have added about £400 onto it. So it's just know what your budget is and shop around and put questions out to the users here, because that's one good thing about the TSOP members forum. Anything you've got a question or anything you're not sure about, stick out a notice on the Facebook page, and more often than not, people will come back and give you help. I've done it myself. It's a great forum for that. The members are very useful and helpful. Yeah,
I think so as well. I'm really pleased with the group, to be honest. It really makes me proud, to be honest. It's like having a class, like when I used to be a teacher in school, you
just want to meet everyone.
Yeah, you do. That's right. Yeah. Here, Brian, here's one for you. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Hi, Brian. Has the DSLR photography affected the type of hiking or backpacking that you do? There is quite a lot of extra gear to carry. So, not sure if they're talking about it. Go on, you go.
I know. Well, Brendan and I have shared a few comments together. I think what the key thing I've done, Brendan, I bought a Shimoda camera bag because they are absolutely fantastic. With the compartments for putting your equipment, the way that they're straps in their bags. I've like Brendan, I've gone wild camping. I've packed it up with a tent, the sleeping bag, all my camera equipment, and the way that that's structured, that if you have a decent rucksack where it holds you around the areas where you need them, no load on your shoulders. No, I would say no, it hasn't affected it at all. No, I wouldn't like to hike 20 miles with it, but I could do it if I had to.
Yeah.
It's about if you're interested in doing that sort of stuff, you've really got to invest in a good quality camera bag to make sure you're carrying that load without causing any back problems. Because I have a back problem, I've got to be very careful. So this bag puts on my back properly. Yeah. You don't feel that you're carrying that weight.
No, and with something like a camera bag and a tripod as the same sort of thing, you've got to go into a shop and look at them because there's so many different types, and it's so much easier to just get a few. If you can get to the photography show in the UK, they've probably got the same out in the US as well. But that is brilliant. You've been there, Brian, to the photography show. Yeah.
No, I've not. No, I did a lot of search on it, but Shimoda, I can't remember the guy that runs it. It was some other, I can't remember the name of the manufacturer. It was a famous bag manufacturer, but the amount of adjustments in this bag is unbelievable. I done a lot of research and I thought, that's perfect. And I took a hit, I bought it, but it's perfect. They're not cheap. They're not cheap, but
no.
You have to invest in if you're carrying them about.
I've got a Tamrac one, which is it is an expensive, mate. It's an American brand actually, but I got that at the photography show, and I've had it for years. And it's had so much heavy stuff in it, and it's been chucked in and out of everything, and it just looks brand new. I mean, it looks brand new, so it does help. And but my advice, if you can get I think the photography show is great. If you need to buy stuff, don't go there if you don't need to buy stuff, because you will come out skint. Your credit card would be gone. But if you need to buy stuff, so for instance, if you want a bag and a tripod, you're going to save yourself a good 150 quid by going to the photography show. They always do show deals and that. But anyway, that's my advice. Very good. And there's a few more things there. Just right, put some questions in there for me or Brian, and while you're doing that, I am going to answer another one here. This is from Birdie Hovis from Pennsylvania. Is there a way to go back and review past videos of the assignments, right, if you're a member? And there's a few more, but I'm just going to answer it. I'm going to answer why not, because actually I've had two of them questions this week, one on here and one on an email. The assignments gets replaced every month, and the reason for that is because otherwise, you can imagine if I had all the assignments online, people would be doing this assignment, that assignment, that, and actually it's really nice for everybody to be working on the same assignment, because everyone can share their pictures, and it just creates a much better kind of, that's what an assignment is. You get an assignment, you get a deadline, then the next assignment comes and you get a deadline and stuff like that. So that's the reason I don't. It's possible that assignments will get re-released, if you like, because there's been some really good ones that I think it would be a shame to hide them, but they won't get re-released for at least 2 years, But yeah, there's the quick answer to that one, Birdie. Assignments are monthly, and I like it that way. I think it works. I understand that people might want to see the others, but I do it that way. You can see the results of the assignments. That's all on. You go onto the TSOP website. You go tutorials at the top, drop down assignments. You can see all the past ones, all the results, but the new assignments come every month. Is there any questions there, Brian, that you think?
No, I'm just looking at it. No. I can't see anything. No.
I've got another one here from Lorraine Smart. This is a good one. She's from Wolverhampton. I'm of a certain age. It starts like that one, right? I'm of a certain age where technology goes way above my head. It seems that everybody likes to use Lightroom and Photoshop and such like. I'm really just a beginner in photography in my journey, a hobbyist, and sometimes I feel like a dinosaur if I don't use these gadgets. Is it wrong for me to keep it real and just like my photos straight from camera? Lorraine. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. If you like them straight from camera, then of course there's nothing wrong with it because it's your picture, and if you like it, that's the end of it, isn't it? It's a subjective art form. My advice is that you are missing out if you just don't do little bits on even you could just the simplest of edits will turn a raw file into like boing, just like you go whoa, and them edits can be done in like 5 minutes, or 10 minutes or whatever. But that's my fault, Brian. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, what I would answer and say I agree with you, Mark, because basically the camera doesn't see what the eye sees with a dynamic range and all that, and in order to do that, that's why I do bracket exposures, because that allows you to then get the sky in the foreground how your eye sees it, and that's the minimalist of edits. It's not cheating, and as you said, Mark, if you're happy to see your images as they are, that's fine, but you can make them look real as your eye sees it by doing some very, very simple blending, and that even if you blend a couple of images shot one exposed for the sky in the foreground, that's what your eye sees, and it's as simple as that. But it's entirely up to yourself. But give it a try and see how you get on. And if it's about, just chatting on the Lightroom thing. I remember myself when I first started, and my friend who is he's a wildlife photographer, semi-professional, and he said the first thing you've got to do is get Lightroom and get this and get that, and I thought to myself, not the money, but I thought, what, £8 or £9 a month for Lightroom? I'll never use it. No. It's Lightroom is a fantastic tool. I've not touched Photoshop yet, but I will when I think I need to add certain features that I need to do. I'm starting the Photoshop course. I have already started it, but it's such a massive tool. But certainly, even with the basic, and if you can afford £8, £9, £10 a month, it's worth investing in it because it does bring your photos to life.
Yeah, I think that you save your money in the time that you save, if you know what I mean. Like £10 a month saves you hours per month, in my opinion. And I don't know how much you get paid an hour. Then you just got to figure it out like that, haven't you? That's my theory on it. We've got a few questions coming through. Nothing of photography thingy yet. So anyone with photography, please let us know because we can answer the questions. But this is from Eddie again. I was up Keswick filming the landscape photography course, and Eddie has got a pub up there, and I think it's called the Lion Inn. So if you're in, there's a little plug for you, Eddie. And I had the steak and ale pie, and it actually was lovely. And so did Lewis, the videographer. He had the same thing. And yes, so it was very nice, Eddie. That's the end. That's the answer to your question. We did have a fantastic time. The weather could have been better, to be fair, but we got some great. Actually, let me show you one, shall I? I wonder if I can show you this one. It was just.
I wish I'd known about Eddie's place when I done the Fred Whitten challenge, the cycling event around these area. I could have done with a steak pie.
Yeah, I think it's called the Lion Inn. Eddie, just put it in there just so that we know, but I'm pretty sure it's called the Lake Road Inn. The Lake Road Inn. I do apologise. There it is there, look. The Lake Road Inn. And it's by the car park in Keswick. Anyway, that's one of the shots that I took.
Eddie, I'll add you to your Facebook, Eddie. I see you just put that comment up there. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. And this is one of the shots I took. And this is what you've got to do though is you've got to. So it was with Tom Archer, who's a professional landscape photographer, and I'm just mucking about with the camera, to be honest, at this particular time. And I thought this was a pretty good shot. And then there was a few more that I got. There's the bracketed shot. So just like what we was talking to just a minute ago, what Brian was talking about. This is me bracketing a shot. I quite like that light beam that just went on there like that. I know it sounds weird, but anyway, I bracketed the shot. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so you want to see Tom's version of that. It's just superb. Like, it just blows you away because they're just thinking in a different way. You're just thinking in a different way, you know. No, there isn't no curve, Mike. I know. That's a first for me, isn't it? I didn't put a curve in it. But there you go. Let's come back to camera. Is there any... here's a question from Terry Bromley here. Let's put this one up. Question. Some people believe photography is a true representation of what the eye sees. I prefer to think of it as a license to be creative. What are your thoughts? Right. Go on to the BBC. I don't know where you're from, Terry. If you're from the UK, go on to BBC iPlayer. Last night there was a program on about the surrealist photographers, and Man Ray being one of them. I don't know if you've heard of Man Ray. Now, this was back in the 1930s, and he was doing surrealist photography, using photography as an art form. Okay, so photography is a license to be creative. It's also a license to capture and document life as well. So that hasn't answered your question. I don't think. Brian, what do you think?
No, I mean, I think, yeah, there's a two elements. It's a representation of what you see, but you're creative in how you bring that image back to, and how you do it, and I'm starting to even find in that year, I've got my own. I'm starting to, people said you'll recognize how you will edit photos. And I'm now starting to find I'm doing that myself. So that's been, I didn't think I'd ever be creative or called creative, but, you know, you slowly starting to get into that. And being creative, just taking it back and doing edits. And that's being creative, in my book. So, you know, my images, I try and keep them as much as I like to make them represent what I saw. But you muck about with the colours, the split tones, the different, you know, the saturations or the highlights and the shadows. But that's been creative, because what you're doing is you're working what light was available to you at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think it's a bit of both, you know, in my eyes.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of. I think I've never worried about. I've never ever once thought to myself, I've got to make this photo look exactly real. Because even when I was color printing back in the day, and black and white printing in chemical darkrooms, when you're doing color photography, you choose a specific film, and you choose a specific paper to print on, and that will give you a specific color. Now that color would never have been the color that you saw at the time. So it's always been a license to be creative in my mind. There is a question here from Claire Everston. I think this is a good one, Brian. It says, have you noticed a big difference in the quality of your landscape since you started?
And in a word, yes. Claire, during the whole my learning curve and what happened with lockdown, I set myself, well, I didn't realize at the time, but I used my reservoir as my focus for my photography, and I can see, and people that know me can see how my photography has evolved. I've recently compiled it into a book, so I will see that representation in the book from day one to the end of the day. But yes, the simple answer is yes, my quality has got better, and it's all to do with the learning courses on TSOP and everything, and getting out there and getting the shots. That's what it's all about, and putting it into practice and seeing where you made mistakes. Learn, go back, try and find out about it, how you correct it. I've done mistakes. I've made lots of mistakes, but yes, mistakes aren't mistakes unless you learn about them. And I've done that as well. So
and at the School of Photography, we're not reinventing the wheel here. You know, we teach you stuff and then tell you to go out and practice it. You know, that's where I come from. Like I spent decades, 13 years teaching, right, in a classroom.
Go on. Yeah. One of the stupid mistakes I've made is, and we'll all do it, depending, if I've been out one evening shooting late and you come home, you're now especially with sunsets being later, and you might have your camera set on a different mode or a different setting. Always stick your camera back to the settings that you rely on. If your ISO's are way up, or you've got your aperture way wide, or and I've been caught out with that because you suddenly jump up next day and you maybe you're at an early rise to catch something and you think, I'm on the wrong. It's that's the one thing I learned. Just reset it when you get home. Just reset it back to what you see as your sort of normal shooting sort of apertures and. I shoot in manual for pretty much everything. I have to say, I've educated my older stuff that way, but you've got to remember to put them back, otherwise you can be caught out.
Yeah, that's right. A couple more questions here. We won't get through them all, but this is quite a good one actually. I think, seeing as we've been talking about this, can bracketing do the same job as filters? What do you think, Brian?
Well, Noreen, I mean, the question. I prefer to. I'm saving up to buy the filter holder system because I would rather use a graduated filter in the field, what I see, by slotting it in. I thought when I first came into this game that when I was buying some filters that they were for professionals, and I'm not going to dabble with that. It looked quite technical, but I've now begun to realise that if I do that filters in the field where I can slide in a polarizer, a graduated filter, a long exposure one, that would take away me sitting spending time behind a computer. So I think that the answer is, if I had those, I wouldn't have to spend as much time doing bracketed exposures.
Yeah. I think that they play a part, but bracketing can also make you get away with. You don't, if you haven't got filters, bracketing can help you. The filter that really does help you is the hard grad, but that's only if you've got a hard horizon line. Then definitely use a hard grad. Using a soft grad can be difficult. I mean, especially if we've got a picture like this, for instance, a soft grad, it's going to sort of impose onto the mountains here and stuff like that. So this one actually is a bracketed shot. You can see there it's a HDR and it's merged together, which has given me that detail in the sky. Let's reset it so you can see actually. So that's the original, and actually, let's go Control and Z again. Yeah, I haven't really done much to it, as a matter of fact, because it did have enough detail in it. It's just the colours and that I changed there. So that was done without filters, but then there's not really a bright sky. I didn't really answer the question, to be honest with you. But I think that with hard grads, they're definitely there. They're definitely going to help you. A hard grad. Soft grads is a bit more difficult because of, you might have trees there, you might have mountains, you might have this, you might have that. That's my opinion on it. Anyway, there you go. And certainly you're going to need filters if you want to do a long exposure, like so you make the glass, the water look like glass. You're definitely going to need filters for that one. Shall we have one more, Brian? And you choose it. You choose what one do you want? Go on, while you're looking, actually, I'm gonna put this up while you're looking. If you want to do that, Heather's got a good question actually. There, Heather Sheldrick. Maybe we'll go to that one in a minute. So Paul's talking about, was Tom using filters when we was doing the landscape photography course? No, he wasn't. He covers that, like you say, in the interview, and he talks about why. Actually, it's not that he's like against them or anything like that. It just depends on the shot, and I've not got enough time to explain it to you, actually, Paul. But it is all explained in the course. The course is looking fantastic, mate. I'll tell you that much. So yeah, you'll find out anyway. You're a member anyway, Paul. So it will come up in your membership there. Shall we end on this one here from Heather, Brian, or did you see something else?
I'll just see one from K Photography there. It's not on my. I'm enjoying the landscape bit. I could maybe answer that because I once met a street photographer whilst I was doing landscape in Edinburgh City.
Right, okay. Well, let me. I'll read it out then. I started photography in January, and I'm interested in people photography. and I'm finding it hard to explore this. Any advice on how people can start their journey in their desired subject? Okay, then. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the way I would answer that is I was up in Edinburgh one day shooting some of the beautiful old structures that we have, the castles, and a street photographer approached me and he said, the way I was sitting on my tripod angled up at the Scott Monument with my wide angle lens, are you a professional photographer? Oh, no, I'm just an amateur doing it for fun. Oh, you look very professional. My name is Raphael. I'm a street photographer. Do you mind me photographing you in action?
Yeah.
But during that day, I saw him photographing people in the park with their cycles, walking, just couples walking on Princess Street. So I think what I'm trying to say to you is just get out there and ask people and just explain what you're doing, why you're doing it. And most likely people will be happy to be taking pictures of, I guess. That's what I've experienced that, and that's what I said. And next minute I'm up on Instagram on his account. So I thought, hey ho.
Yeah. It's hard. I love doing photography like that, like street portraits and stuff like that. That's an upcoming assignment, guys. So get yourselves warmed up for it. I actually really like it, but then I like talking to people and things like that. So it's but it's still hard to do. It's still you've got to get over that shyness. And you still get that every time you go out and do them types of pictures. And my advice to cave photography is you just got to do it. And the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. But every time you go back out again on the street, the same feelings, there's a barrier there. And it's the only thing that stops you is you, as a matter of fact. You're the barrier, and you've got to say that to yourself. Like, I'm the barrier here. I'm making myself nervous. And my little tip, I call them warm-up shots. This is true story. When I go out doing street portraits and street photography, I go, right, let's take some. I walk out, get out the car, go walking. I think, right, let's take some warm-up shots, and they could be the most crappiest, boringest things that you could ever think of, like a bench or a fence or whatever, right? But it does exactly what it says it's going to do. It warms you up, gets you ready, and then you start trying to include people. Then your eye starts kicking in, and then you start seeing things, and then it goes from there. But there's my little tip for you there. Loads of questions coming in now, Brian. It's just absolutely sod's law, because we've been asking for questions all night, and then everyone's being quiet, and now everyone's putting it, and now it's like we're 5 minutes past the time. Right, I'll tell you what. Then we're going to answer one more, right? Because there's so many coming in. Do you want to choose one?
I can't see what have I got here.
I have Lorraine Smart.
What's people often shoot aperture priority, but I find the shots beautiful. Oh, maybe Heather's one. What about that Heather Sheldrick? Oh, no, not that one. I'm looking at the one that says people often shoot an aperture priority.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, gotcha. There it is. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Okay, so people often shoot in aperture priority, but I find the shutter speeds are always slower than I like. Especially at lower ISO settings. Is there a secret I'm missing? Unless you can turn into Jesus Christ and let the light shine from the sky, you're not really missing any trick, because it's literally to do with light there, Heather. And this is a really very, very common question, and very common confusing thing for learners. They just think that the cameras should do it. Why are you not doing it? Why are you not doing it? I paid 500 quid for you, right? But actually the camera and photography has always been limited by light. So in them situations, you've literally got no choice but to put the ISO setting up, or, let the gods bring you light, let there be light. So I don't know where you're going to get light from, but you get the point I'm trying to say, okay? There isn't a secret that you are missing. I'll give you my settings. If you're shooting, I'm thinking that you must be doing like street photography or walking around, I don't know, in a gallery or something where it's a bit dark, right? So that's the setting. Put it on aperture priority, but you can set your lowest shutter speed on some cameras as well. So you could set it to the lowest shutter speed of 125th of a second. That's what I would do. The other thing that you can do, it depends on your camera. I put my aperture on its widest setting, whatever lens that's on there. It might be f4, f5.6, might be f2.8, depends on your lens. Put your shutter speed to 125th of a second, leave your ISO on auto, and then that ISO will go up and down depending on where the light is, and you're always going to get a sharp shot. There you go. That's my little tip there. What would you say, Brian?
Well, I mean, what I'd say, the only time I use that aperture priority is if I'm photographing during the day where you've got good light. Mainly if I'm out in the morning or in the evenings, I just ignore aperture priority because it's just a waste of time. I just stick it on manual and I work with what I've got at the time. I try and keep my ISO as low as possible to stop, the mess in the background, and the luminance,
noise,
or the noise. But then you've got that, I use the aperture priority during the day when you've got good light, and that's very few and far between. Most of my photography that I do is all in manual, because I've educated myself that way, and it's as simple as that.
It works. It's there isn't like there isn't some people work in manual, people work in aperture priority. It's whatever's going to work for you, actually. Right now, we're 10 minutes over the schedule and we've still got lots of people watching, so it must have been a good one, Brian. It must have been good. Now, please in the comments there, say thank you to Brian, because I think he's been a fantastic guest for us this evening, and it's been very informative, and I really hope that he's informed you and me as well. I hope I've informed you as well. If it has, then I've said it so many times tonight, I don't even know if I can say it again. Please do them things, like and subscribe and follow and share and just engage with the video. It's absolutely boring for me to keep saying this, but I can't tell you how much it helps. So please, click that button. That's all you got to do. Apart from that, that's us done, Brian. All right.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate all the nice comments there. It's lovely. Thanks, everyone. And, it's I feel, it's a great platform for us amateur photographers, to get up here and just say what we're doing and what we're about, because photography is for everyone. It's great. And thanks for Mark for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're more than welcome, Brian. It's been fantastic to have you on. And that's it, guys. So for members, you've got your assignment this month. There's some really good ones. I've done the Mac. I've done your mid-assignment critique. I'm either going to put it out, email it out tomorrow or the next day, actually. But there's some great work coming up already. So carry on with that. And for everyone, members and everyone watching, we will be back next month. All right. So just subscribe, sign up to our newsletter, and you'll get reminded for all of that sort of stuff. That's it. Just
a quick. I see Terry there asking a link to the BenQ monitor. Terry, just put a post up on your on the members page, and I'll send you a link through of what I was able to get.
Oh, sorry, that one there. Yeah, got you.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. That's that one then. Right, guys, listen. I think it's been great. Brian, thanks again. It's been really good. Hang on there. I'll end the broadcast, but you stay there and we can have a chat. And for the rest of you guys, absolutely fantastic. And it's been great. And I'll see you soon. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.